All right, folks, it's Mando Fridays, and I'm here to give you my short review of episode 14 or chapter 14 of The Mandalorian, The Tragedy. Now, the Star Wars community has been going crazy after last week. We got the live action picture, and we got the live action view of Ahsoka Tano finally, played by Rosario Dawson. And just what a crazy episode last week was. The child has a name in Grogu, and just everything that all of the fallout from that episode. It literally made the internet go up in flames because of how crazy that episode was. But now we're back for episode 14. And this episode, I gotta say, this episode was absolutely, I loved it. And I was so excited to see what this episode was going to do. One, because it was billed as the shortest episode before seeing it. And it was the shortest episode. And it absolutely felt like a short episode, but just had so much action in it. And then it was directed by Robert Rodriguez, who I'm a huge fan of. I just got to let you know, I'm a huge Alita fan. So like, this was definitely something I was eyeing to see how he was going to lay his touch on it. But with everything that left from last week's episode, I just wanted to see where were they going to go next with the story. And now they're going to Tython, which we're now getting to see the first live action of that, which they had to go to see, or as he's calling it, the magic, the magic stone for the ancient temple on top of the mountain, so that Grogu could sit in the center and choose his path with the Force. And which was a really cool scene, seeing him be surrounded by the force field. Also, with them landing up on the mountain, I thought that was just shot so beautifully. But this, again, as much as this was about Grogu, I gotta say, like Boba Fett. I cannot talk. Boba Fett was just absolutely nuts this episode. First of all, we've never seen him this intense. Like I gotta say, I was never the biggest fan of Boba Fett, but like, he's never ever, that character has never been shown to be this intense. And I guess a man without his armor is just an enraged man, and him just completely disintegrating the stormtroopers before he got his armor. When he looked over at the Razor crest and he saw his armor in there, that gave me chills. And then when he came back full armor to save the day, I was all for Boba Fett. I mean, he was kicking ass and taking names, and like, he had the missiles coming out of his knee. He was just on the point. I went crazy for Boba Fett this episode. And then ultimately, like, the special effects in this episode was just done so well. Cinematography was just so well that I just enjoyed this episode through in and throughout. The Rock rolling down the mountain, crushing the stormtroopers was just nuts. That laser cannon by the stormtroopers was just nuts. There was just so many really good things here. But I'm gonna just bounce around just a little bit. But when Din told the child that he had to take him to the Force and they'll meet a Jedi, whatever it may be, and kind of was basically saying he was giving them up for adoption because, like, they got the father-son relationship. I didn't think he was so happy with that. And then ultimately we knew that Din doesn't really know how the Force works or anything, so he was looking around for clues up until the Force field eventually surrounded Grogu, and that's was his way of communicating with the Force, getting jacked up on Force juice, and he had to let him do his thing until he ultimately passed out from it. But while all that was happening, again, that's when Boba Fett landed in, and seeing Boba Fett and his ship, I mean, just so iconic for all Star Wars fans. Like, it's just so surreal being able to see this in 2020 and just seeing this character Boba Fett, channeling martial arts, being the badass he's always been, but just taking it to the next level. And like, the character has so much more depth now, hearing about the connection with his dad, quoting some of his dad's lines, and just learn about their bloodlines. And then even with him being one of the people that you never viewed as a good guy, seeing him in a heroic fashion and respect between Din and Baba at the point where all the hostility went away right away once they realized they were both Mandalorians. So like, I really respected that camaraderie between the two of them. And still, because he got the armor back, he promised him protection of the kids. So like, there was just so much that happened between the two of them that I just truly appreciated. And we know that we should see more of them together, since his promise is the protection of the kids. So I'm looking forward to that. But going back to Grogu really quick. So Grogu, once he eventually passed out on the rock, that's when we got to see the Dark Troopers, live action shot of the Dark Troopers in action, which looks total badass as they were descending from the Imperial ship. And it was tragic for some people that he got kidnapped. But I mean, I've been saying for a while, like, this guy is not as good as everyone think he is. I mean, there's a lot of clues here each and every episode why the child isn't as pure as people think he is. Number one, him using the Force grip. Number two, him reaching out to the dark saber seems to have some connection to the past. And then all the other things that he's been doing in previous episodes that just kind of makes you lean towards the idea of, like, he may not be as pure, as cute as people think he is. But everyone's so obsessed with him right now, and even then in the beginning, want him to use his Force tricks, keep calling his name like everybody on the internet and so on. But I think it's ultimately going to end up revealing the fact that he's not really good. He may be one with the Sith, the dark side, because even Moff Gideon doesn't seem to show any form of worries having somebody who potentially could be as strong with the Force in his possession, which could go bad for him, but he's not worrying at all, which makes me think that he knows that this kid isn't as pure as he think he is, because he seems to be really much at ease here with that. And then on top of that too, Moff Gideon saying they got the donor. For a minute I thought we were going to get him to light speed through, and I thought we were going to get Thrawn at some point. I mean, that's the next big thing everybody's just anticipating on happening here. But I wonder if the donor is in regards to the cloning process, obviously. But is this like is this pretty much showing us how Palpatine and how Snoke was created? Is he the donor that made this happen? So and we've never really known that. So like this potentially could be the connection that's going on here. So we don't know. Really going back really quickly, we've seen Kara, who's now known as the Marshal of the New Republic. I think now that we know that this is her way out of the Mandalorian series, but to the New Republic series that they're teasing as her being a pivotal character in that. Then eventually he asked her for a favor. He needed to find the whereabouts of Miggs Mayfield, who we haven't seen since episode 10, played by Bill Burr, my guy, who's an expert sharpshooter, who he will need in order to track Moff Gideon, who now has possession of the kid. So I can't wait to see Bill Burr back on the screen. But at the same time too, I thought this episode was really good. A lot of callbacks to a lot of the old things, as far as with the Stormtrooper in their armor, some dialogue that was being used, being able to see live action footage, live action things that we've never seen before from video games and so on. So like, it was just really, really cool to kind of what this episode did for true Star Wars purists. Like, there was a lot that went on. And then beyond that, if you just like The Mandalorian for what it is, the cinematography was good. I thought some of the dialogue was good. The action was good. This was a very nice episode. And then Boba Fett, who I think almost transcends throughout Star Wars, is one of the most popular characters. Seeing depth with this character, I thought was just so amazing. So this is a really, really crazy episode. But like I said, this is my short review. I'm doing a deep dive with Team JVS on Sundays. I would drop then, so tune in for that, where we spend about 30 to 40 minutes really breaking down each and every part of this episode. So as always, folks, thank you so much for watching this review, and I'll catch you all very soon.
I